Hi, 7th graders. You're going to be using databases for your research in American Studies. Luckily, you just did this in English not that long ago, so we're going to take a look at how this will be just a little different in accessing them from home. If you remember, you're going to start in Schoology and go to Groups and find your 7th grade class of 2025. From here, it is Resources on the left-hand side. And then it's middle school online resources, that link from Mr. Welter at the top. If you remember when you came down to the library during our research in English, we talked about how each of these databases offers different things. Most of you with your topics started with the Gale Research and Context. If you were researching a person, you may have started with Gale Biography and Context, and each one of these can offer something different. If you were to click on one of these colorful buttons the way that we did when we were in the building, you're going to get an error message this time. In fact, I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. And the reason for that, actually because I'm logged in, sorry, that's incorrect. It is letting me do it because of the way I'm logged in through our school. For most of you, it isn't going to let you access it that way. So the way that you're going to be accessing it today is going to be through this blue At Home Access button up at the top. A lot of these databases, it's going to feed you an error message. It's going to ask you for login information because you're not actually at Valley. So instead, today, rather than clicking on one of these buttons, because it is going to give you this error message as a student, go ahead and click instead on this big blue At Home Access button. So it's going to bring you this long list. It is the same set of databases. It just is looks a little bit different here. They've got them listed out here for us with little descriptions of what each one is. What is a little bit nice about the way this is broken down is that you can actually search these across databases. So one thing I would actually recommend in this case, because you're doing this from home and because you might want to save yourself a little bit of time, is you could type in the word pandemic to your search bar at the top. And then you could actually, if you wanted to, even click this button here that says select all. And it's going to select every one of the databases with the exception of the bottom two. Those bottom two databases, Kids Infobits and Gale and Context Middle School, it isn't going to let you search those two at the same time. But the other ones, it will let you search all of those at once. So it's going to search every database using the word pandemic. Let's see what kind of results it comes up with when it lets us look at all of those together. Now, when we do that, we're going to get a ton of hits all at one time. And this can be beneficial, certainly. It's going to be pulling from all the different databases at once. This is sort of like doing a Google search with the databases. You can see up here we've got 3,644 magazine articles. We've got over 8,000 academic articles. We've got, 759 books that we're pulling from. So lots of different things here, and we know already how great the databases are. I don't have to push you on that. So it's going to give you a great collection of information to look at, again, knowing it's trustworthy and not as overwhelming as the millions or billions of things you'd get with Google. So that's one way you could do it. Maybe even a good way to start. You could even type in pandemic and epidemic. You could see how that might change your search. It is going to change the numbers a little bit. It's going to narrow it down, which makes sense because you're adding a second word. Another option, though, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't really want to look at all of the databases, or that's quite a few articles. I really want to just look at one database at a time. The two I would recommend that you focus in on rather than doing a cross search would be these two. The first would be the second one that's down, Gale and Context Global Issues. If you can read that very small print there, it talks about how this is a database that focuses on global issues, topics, and current events. Makes sense that this would be a good one to take a look at. If I want to search this one, either I can type my search terms up here, select it here, and then search, or I can go into the database and do my searching here. That's my preference. Again, you guys are using search terms like epidemic and pandemic, and this looks a little bit more familiar to you perhaps, like what we did in English. So the global issues one is going to be useful. You're going to see right off the top, you're going to have lots of options there. So global issues. The other one that would make sense is the fourth one down, and that's Gale in Context Science. And of course, this deals with science and health issues. So again, if we're typing in words like pandemic or epidemic, because these are related to health, we're going to see some great articles come up in that database too. One last suggestion I would give is if you wanted just some very general information about what is a pandemic, what is an epidemic, you could go to the very bottom database. Remember when we did the cross-search database at the very beginning and we selected all of these, it did not allow us to select these two, so we weren't searching either one. This Gale in Context Middle School, I hope looks familiar. It's the one that we used quite a bit for just general searching in your English research. And if I were to type in pandemic and epidemic, oops, let's try that again. This might give me some nice articles that just give some very general information, almost like you'd find in an encyclopedia. You know, here it tells us just a little bit about some definitions. You know, how do diseases spread to become pandemics? You know, what are some examples of pandemic diseases? When did those occur? Some history behind that. So if you're looking for general information using that very last database, I'll go back to the list again. Might be a good one, and that was that last one here, Gale in Context Middle School. So I gave you a few ways that you could search this today. One would be to do the select all and type your topics up here and search. Another would be Gale in Context Global Issues, Gale in Context Science, or for just general information, Gale in Context Middle School. I hope that's helpful. Please reach out on Schoology or on email if you have any questions or if I can be of any help. Good luck.